you, what up? Did you know that Charlotte Tilbury has a new reformulated Airbrush Flawless Foundation? This is the new one. Check out the difference with the packaging. This right here is the original 2019 version. And I don't know how I missed this. I had no idea that one of my favorite foundations was reformulated. What? So today in this video, I want to find out why. Why do we do this? What's the reformulation about? I'm going to obviously slap these onto my face. I want to do a wear test. I want to do a comparison. I want to do all sorts of swatches, talk about the shades, talk about the prices, everything. I want to get down to the bottom of this. I want to know what's up, okay? Charlotte, darling, what is going on? Let us know. So obviously, if you are here for this, then keep on watching. I am eager to discover the truth. Subscribe if you aren't already. Notification bell. Today's video is a review and comparison of the new and reformulated Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Foundation. And let's see how it stacks up to the original one. Let's hit it. 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3. All right, so I got both foundations here in my possession, in my hands. I just got my hands on the new one. I went to a Charlotte Tilbury event here in the city last week, and I don't know how this escaped me. I don't know how I missed this. I didn't even know that this foundation was reformulated this year in 2025. I was still using the 2019 version. I still like the 2019 version. It's a very full coverage, thicker type of formulation, but I am a 2016 makeup girly. I love that type of glam. And so that original foundation really spoke to me. I wore it a lot actually in 2019 when it did come out, and it was one of my favorites. I had no complaints. Actually, I did have one complaint about the original formula, was that the shades were really hard to determine. So here in my possession, I have shade 7 neutral and shade 7.5 neutral in the original. I also went ahead and grabbed the Beautiful Skin foundation, which I also have in shade 7 neutral and 8 neutral. I guess I used all of them. So then when I went to this recent Charlotte Tilbury event, I got matched to the new foundation, and I now am a 6 warm. I will say I think they're off. I did try this foundation on separately on a different day on my bare skin, and I thought it was just a little bit off. So why the reformulation? Why the discontinuation of the original? Here's what I know so far, and I did a little bit of digging. I did a little bit of research. Basically, this new foundation, which is $49 by the way, there are 44 shades. Again, it's the same name, Airbrush Flawless Foundation. The new formula is supposed to be a cream to air type of formula, so it's supposed to be weightless, even though it is still very much full coverage, but it's supposed to be stretchy. As Charlotte likes to say, it's the Spanx for your face, darling. And so this is what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be kind of like a snatching type of foundation. We shall see. But basically, it's supposed to give you that smooth, blurred, sort of diffused finish. And it does contain some of those diffusing powders to provide that finish. Also, the weightless coverage in the new reformulated foundation versus the old one is due to the fact that instead of heavy pigments, this new foundation uses something called elastomer gels. Okay, so this is kind of like a new term for me, but anyway, elastomer gels are supposed to be like these suspended in water type of pigments, and yeah, it's just supposed to feel like second skin, very, very nice and natural on your skin. So I guess let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, shade 6 warm is what I have in my possession, which is basically a medium with warm undertones. When I got shade matched at the event, the Charlotte Tilbury makeup artist told me that this new foundation, the warms are a lot more forgiving. They're not as orange as the old warms used to be. So now I no longer need to grab a neutral. I can actually grab a warm and it'll perform like a warm. I am talking a lot, but I feel like this is important information. I feel like some people may want to know this. So of course, if you're not one of those people, then go ahead and skip forward. But if you're into all this geeky details like I am, then watch this video in its entirety. I'm going to go ahead and do some swatches of the 6 warm. This is the new foundation. It does look quite warm to me, but with all of this pigment, there is no way that that will match my neck. Yes, it is a different tone from my discolored face, but I always match my foundations to my neck, to my chest, and this in no way is anywhere near what I typically wear. However, we're gonna go with it and we're gonna make it work. Let me go ahead and swatch the original 7 neutral. Oh yeah, this definitely feels a lot creamier and a lot thicker. and now the 7.5 neutral. So both of these I actually wore. This seems to blend in better with my neck. If I squint, I feel like the 7 neutral kind of works. And then get this, the 7.5 goes back to light. It is just so freaky. It's almost the same shade as the 6. So I'm gonna put it right next to my 7, and you can just see how it jumps around. This was like the big discrepancy for me with Charlotte Tilbury foundations. A lot of them were just jumping around. The shades did not make sense. It was all over the place. It went from light to dark. It wasn't in like a numeric sort of format. It made no sense. And I mean, you can clearly see the 7.5 is pretty much just a little bit darker than the new 6. And I think for the sake of this video, I'm gonna skip the 7 altogether. I'm gonna just use the 6 from the new and the 7.5 from the original, just so they can be as close of a match as possible. But for now, here are the swatches. And like I said, I do feel a bit of a difference in just the feel of the foundation. The original, I will say, does feel a little bit outdated with just how thick and creamy it feels. But that's not to say that I didn't enjoy that feeling back in 2019. I most certainly did. And I wore this foundation a lot. So now the way that they say to apply this new foundation is 2 pumps max, okay? In fact, Charlotte's tip is to do just 1 pump on the entire face. So I think I'm gonna do a small pump on half of my face. First, of course, you do need to prime, and they suggest that you prime with the Magic Cream. I got this big old tub of the Magic Cream, which I am gonna use as a primer, and I'm gonna apply just the teensiest amount, concentrating it on the perimeter of my face rather than on the center. Do you notice how my skin just flushes from the touch? It's so crazy. It never used to be this way, but oh no. Skin changes. All right, here goes nothing. Trying out shade 6 Warm from the new reformulated Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless foundation. I'm gonna do that 1 pump. Damn, that's a big pump. I didn't mean to do that. And I'm also gonna use the Charlotte brush. I'm gonna pick up just a little bit, and I'm gonna kind of create a border. You can see how pigmented this is. You really do not need a lot of product at all. And I kind of see what they mean when they say that it stretches. Look how much product I still have left over on my palm. Look how little of it I actually used. Wow. All right, I'm gonna pick up just the tiniest amount more, and I'm gonna kind of stipple this all over the rest of my face. I feel like if I used any more than what I'm using now, you would be able to tell that this shade is not my best match. Because it's a full coverage foundation, it will show up as the true color of this foundation, meaning that there's no peeking through it. You will not be able to see freckles or anything like that, but I am gonna kind of avoid this area where my freckles are, because I do want my freckles to shine just a little bit. I'm just gonna kind of glide or like hover my brush over them. All right, here we go. The finish is quite matte, I will say. And look how much I still have left over from that pump. I think I used literally less than half a pump for half of my face, and it gave me a pretty decent coverage. Again, like I said, I don't like to cover up my freckles. I like my freckles, so I didn't apply too much here, but as you can see, the forehead is quite covered. The jaw, this side of the face is pretty much taken care of. The finish up close and over that Magic Cream definitely feels and looks more natural than one would expect. But again, this is a foundation that probably need a lot less of than you think. I'm gonna see if I can pick up just the slightest amount more and build it up right here to cover some freckles, just to see if it can be done. I mean, yeah, this is quite the full coverage. And I think building it up the way that I did is probably the best way to apply it. I do have another kind of annoying freckle right here, and it's probably not a freckle, it's probably just a sunspot, because it's something that I recently discovered. I'm gonna just stipple a little bit more foundation into this area, and boom, the spot is gone. I'm satisfied with this side of the face. No, it does not match my neck. That's okay. I'm gonna probably go for a shade 7 neutral, maybe a 7 warm. I don't think they have 0.5s in this new foundation, but essentially this is 6 warm. I also feel that at the event they were matching a lot of people to 6 warm. Maybe that was a shade that they had more of and they were trying to make sure it can fit more people. But people that typically aren't the same skin tone as me were also getting matched to the same shade. So I found that to be a little bit odd, I guess. All right, let's go ahead and test the original Airbrush Flawless on this side. This is shade 7.5 neutral. I'm gonna squeeze out the same amount, and I'm gonna use a very similar brush, but a different brush. This one's from Lancome, but essentially it is the same brush. This one's not contaminated, so I just wanna make sure that I give you guys as true of a test as possible. Let's go. First, the forehead. Oh, honey, I do remember this one. And she is beautiful. She is gorgeous. These shades, I would say, are fairly close to one another. another. I think the 7.5 is just a tad more olive than the 6 warm, but it still works. What I am noticing is that this one is not as stretchy, and I am picking up a little bit more product. The original is also not something that you can stipple on. You definitely kind of have to work the foundation into your skin, but it is a really, really gorgeous full coverage formula. I love this foundation and I still love it. All right, I need more because I am almost done. With this foundation, more is more. And I will say, although this is also fuller coverage, you can kind of still see the true undertone peeking through underneath it. I don't know. I am going to add a little bit more just because I feel like I need a little bit more. But this immediately tells me that the new reformulated version is more pigmented in the sense that you need less product. It definitely stretches. It goes further. And to me, that's a plus. All right. So here we go. Here is the finished original 2019 version side of the face versus the new and improved 2025 version. Immediately, I can tell in my camera that this side looks a little bit more set than the original. The original still has this overall wetness. Like I feel like I absolutely need powder. I need to powder it down. Whereas here, I need powder in some areas, like definitely here in the pore zones, definitely in the center of the face, a little bit in the center of the forehead, but the perimeter looks really nice, very naturally matte, almost like it's already set with powder. The shades, I would say, are pretty close. 6 warm is just a tad lighter than the 7.5, and the 7.5 is a little bit more olive from what I can tell in this lighting, from what I can tell in my monitor. So if you're a 7.5 in the original, I guess the 6 will fit you as well. They're close enough is what I'm trying to say. So maybe I am a 6 warm indeed, in fact. Maybe they were right. I don't know. I did need a little bit more, actually double the product to get a true full coverage on this side of the face versus this side of the face where I truly needed just half a pump. So I do believe that for the entire face with the new foundation, 1 pump is absolutely more than enough. Magic Cream so far is a really, really good primer for this, especially for the new side, because the finish of this matte, it is a little bit on the dry side. So you will need something more emollient underneath, especially if you have a drier skin type. All right, so those are just my observations so far, my first impressions. Let me add just a little bit more product all over to see how other things respond to it. Let's go ahead and get started with a little bit of bronzer. Of course, I'm gonna go for the contour wand from Charlotte. Nothing too crazy, just a couple dots here and there. And basically I'm gonna blend it out. Same foundation brush, just a little bit in the hairline to give my face a pinch more dimension. Just a little bit in the cheekbone. Ooh, this side is definitely easier to blend over the original creamier foundation, which makes a lot more sense, which also tells me that this new formula is probably more on the self-setting side. So bear that in mind. This was just so seamless, so easy. This gave me a little bit more drag, just a little bit more grip, I will say. So stipple blending is probably better here. I do need some concealer. That I forgot to grab, BRB. Just gonna use my Danessa Myricks, Yummy Skin. Boom, boom. Cute. Now I need powder. For powder, of course, I'm going to use the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish micro powder. I have it pretty much in every single shade. Shade 2, which is what I typically use. Shade 3, which is what I use in the perimeter of my face. I even grabbed shade 4 at the event, which is a deep version, but I thought it might be nice for me to use it as a bronzer, but it is very pigmented. I also have shade 1 for the under eyes, so let me go ahead and dip. Ooh, this one's hit pan. All right, so I did just a little bit of like popping out some hollow areas like around the nose with shade 1. Now I'm going to use shade 2. This is a brand new shade 2. I'm going to use that all over to kind of set everything in place. And you know what? Maybe I need a little bit of Charlotte bronzer too. I have it here in shade tan, this big old giant one. And wait a minute, almost an identical shade, but I will say that shade 4 of the Airbrush Flawless powder is not as warm as the bronzer. And also the bronzer is a lot less pigmented, so it will kind of allow you to give that nice veil of bronze as opposed to a punch of color. Gonna do a little bit of that and just hug my cheeks. All right, that's it. So now I have to show you guys a close-up. This is the face. The original side, the new and improved side. I say that in quotes because we don't know this yet, but let's see. All right, here is this side of the face. Up close, very, very personal. The skin, the side of the face, the pores, the forehead. Shift to the other side. And here is this side of the face with the original you can see how much creamier this side of the face is, but it is also feels like a lot more makeup. You let me know. This looks a little bit more natural. This looks more flawless, but it also looks more makeup-y. Do you agree? Okay, so once again, this side of the face to me looks a little bit more natural, less covered up. This side looks more flawless. I would say the original formula gives a more flawless finish for sure, but it looks like more makeup also. Let me know if you agree. If you disagree, tell me your thoughts. I'm eager to hear them. But these are just my first impressions, my first initial thoughts about this comparison. Obviously, I have to do a wear test, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So we haven't done this in a while, but I'm so excited. Let's cue in the good old time warping music for that wear test. Let's go. All right, guys, hello. It is the very next day. Direct sunlight, although it is a very cloudy day. Here is the new Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Foundation on this side of the face. Applied exactly the same way as I just did in the previous part of the video. Here is the original. Again, even in this lighting, this side looks more flawless to me. Pinch more makeup-y, whereas this side just looks a little bit more natural. Also, I think this shade is a little bit truer to my actual skin tone as opposed to this one, which definitely has a bit of a yellow or a bit of an unnatural sort of finish. But anyway, just applied this maybe 20 minutes ago, so let's see how this wears throughout the day. All right, we're back up close and personal in the kitchen, overhead light. It is 8 p.m., so this is a 6 or 7 hour wear test. Here is this side of the face, the forehead, and this side of the face. Overall, I will say the skin looks okay. It still looks pretty covered up, not terribly shiny, although I will say that the center of the face and the forehead is pretty shiny as my skin typically gets around this hour mark. I will say I still like the original foundation a little bit better than the new and improved one. For some reason, this side just looks a lot more makeup-y. It just looks heavier, even though it feels lighter. Whereas this side of the face just looks more flawless. It looks more put together for some reason. Like the skin looks creamier, even though it is for sure greasy, even though, yes, there are some breakouts and some accentuations of those breakouts. But this side, you can't deny it. You can see the makeup. You can see it settling into some fine lines that I didn't even know I had. Like, what exactly is this? What exactly is that over here? That is looking a little much for my liking. So I guess my final verdict is the following. Yes, I do appreciate the reformulated foundation for the fact that it feels quite weightless on the skin. You do need a very tiny amount to get a really good coverage, full coverage. However, the shade match isn't perfect. You can kind of see where I messed up here. I didn't apply some makeup into some parts, and you can see where my skin is coming through and where the foundation begins. The original is still my favorite. I don't know why exactly they reformulated it. I think maybe it was due to the shades leaning a little bit too orange in the warms. So now their neutrals are their actual warms. But I don't really see a need for this foundation that is still quite relevant in 2025. I don't see the need for it to be reformulated. I will stick with my original one, although it is discontinued and probably will not be able to get my hands on many more once my bottles are over. This one I do like, but not as much. So those are my final 2 cents. That is my verdict. That is my story, my wear test. I hope you guys find this useful. I hope this is helpful to those of you with oily skin, with dry skin, with acne-prone skin, with mature skin, and so on. Let me know if there's a video that you'd like to see next. Let me know if there's anything that you want to see me review, any other foundation comparisons that you'd like me to conduct. I'm all ears, so sound off. I love you guys. Hope you enjoyed this one. Peace out. I'm out. More videos over here. Deuces. Bye.